What is up, you guys? Today it is my goal as well as my guest's goal to help you transform your life through self-talk and really influence and help you guide you to starting to make an impact on yourself as well as the others around you and ultimately on this world. Today, as we go through this podcast, I encourage you to ask yourself a couple questions. 1, are you making the impact that you're capable of? And 2, are you talking to yourself the way you feel you deserve, the way that you would talk to a friend? And if not, we will help you transform that. With that in mind, welcome to the show, Reese Salvis.
Thank you. I'm super excited to be here. I've been looking forward to this a lot, and I know we've been talking quite a bit about it. So it's kind of crazy to be on the other side of the microphone for once.
Of course,
it's kind of weird.
So just some insight on Reese. He's been in YouTube for 10 plus years. He's been podcasting. He has a podcast called Out at Reese's, which he goes into communities that are unknown. For instance, the underground hip hop.
Yeah,
probably
correct.
Said that wrong, but
I mean, no, it's fine.
I'm sure it is different being on the other side.
It really is. It's a different dynamic, and it just feels different, you know.
Of course. So, what inspired you to start to go talk to different communities that were more underground, not as known?
Well, so when I started the podcast, that wasn't even the intent. The intent was just to sit down and have a conversation, right? But then I had this opportunity come up. My friend, he goes by Royal T online, and he's a performing artist. He got involved in this community called the Storm Community, and he invited me to one of his shows. And I was like, dude, why don't I just bring my podcast? And he thought that was a pretty cool idea. So I just showed up, started meeting people, and I realized that there was something super special about this community and definitely a lot of potential. And everyone was just so unique with their personalities, their views, their perspectives on everything. And so I just decided I want to spend some time just exploring this community. And that's where I had the idea I want to learn more about the world and just explore all these other communities and whatnot.
That's amazing. So you're an explorer into places that some people have never been.
Yeah, supposedly. Yeah, I want to bring a new perspective on the world,
Of course. What, that first event, how was it? Pretty nervous going into your first event, or how was that?
So my first event, I was so scared. The thing is, I didn't even end up actually shooting the podcast that event. I had planned to. I brought all my equipment. We drove 12 hours from Salt Lake City to Los Angeles just over the weekend for this event. Got all set up at the Airbnb, and I was so nervous the entire time. I was just like, man, I don't know if I can do this, because I've just been shooting random conversations with my at the time the co-host, and I just didn't think that I would be able to just talk to a bunch of random people, and it didn't end up working out that time. But yeah, I was super nervous, to say the least.
Now you're here guiding multiple podcast sessions with amazing people.
I can't even believe it. It's like, that's me. Just seeing myself talk, because I've never seen myself as someone who can just be social and talk to people. So it's kind of interesting to see how far mentally I've come because of the podcast.
More confidence.
Exactly.
Stuff like that. Do you feel like you used to struggle with, and obviously I know that question, but just to put out the question, have you ever found yourself struggling with self-talk that kind of made you feel like you wouldn't be capable of doing this stuff?
All the time. Especially when I started, I was like, how am I someone who can just run a podcast? How could I be someone to just conversate, how could I be interesting? It's kind of what I would tell myself, and I'd bring myself down a lot, back then. I didn't know what my potential was in it, but I'm glad that I stuck through with it. I never really let it bring me down to the point where I wanted to quit, because you don't gain anything from that.
Of course. So when did you say, I want to start a podcast?
Probably maybe around May of 2020, probably about May 2020.
And obviously you're this go-getter entrepreneur that wants to make big things happen for yourself and honestly the world. You're not just doing these conversations for yourself. You want to help everybody around you.
Yeah.
Before the podcast, what was life like for you?
It was really simple, honestly. I was doing security, right? I was just working security 9 to 5. Really mixed up schedule, actually. I was doing like night shifts, day shifts, grave shifts, all that. And I was just kind of having fun on my free time, right? Just playing video games all night, going out with friends. And it was just a very simple life. And I just realized I didn't want to just live like that the rest of my life. I felt like I wanted to be more, I felt like there was potential in me to do something great, and I didn't want to just live a simple life of just messing around,
You didn't want to be regular.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't want to live a standard, life, but
You wanted to be extraordinary, and you wanted to show up the way that you felt you could in this world to make the impact you wanted.
Exactly. It was weird kind of coming to that realization. Maybe you've experienced something like that with yourself when you decided what you really wanted to be in the world and for yourself.
Yeah, it's a good experience.
Yeah, oh, definitely. By weird, I mean like good weird.
Yeah,
it's like kind of surreal.
Weird,
You're like
crazy.
That
was interesting.
I don't want to be doing this, But
so let's take it back to self-talk. Obviously, and it was 2020, May 2020.
Yeah.
What about before then? Were you struggling with self-talk? How was your mental health before?
It's terrible. There was several things that I went through that I don't want to claim that I've been through the worst of the worst. Not even close. Like what I've been through is like scraping the surface. I don't consider myself gone through anything crazy traumatic, but what I did go through did affect my mental health completely. Essentially, I'll try to summarize it quick, but what happened was, I'd just gotten dumped out of, on my 2-year anniversary, I was dumped, right?
Wow.
And then kind of following that, I had a lot of these financial issues come up, and then I had lost basically my closest friends because they'd kind of turned their back on me at the time when I felt like I needed them most. And so losing my friends, losing my ex, being in a horrible financial situation that really didn't feel like I could really get out of it without sacrificing a lot. And I kind of just gave up on myself because I thought I can't be someone to handle this. Like I didn't think I could really manage it. And so I kind of let myself go, right? Like I started smoking a lot of weed, and kind of as a way to really escape that pain and just everything. And it wasn't until I realized the toxicity inside of me that was growing from letting myself be like this. Cause I realized I started becoming a much more toxic person towards others. I was a lot more judgmental. I was always talking down about myself and others that didn't really align with myself, right? And when I realized that, man, you've become a bad person. Like the younger version of myself, I would think you're going to be so disappointed with who I've become. So I started just like, screw this. But I won't lie, part of this was like I still wanted to get back with my ex for a couple months, right? So after the first like 3 or 4 months, I was like, screw it. I want to win her back. I'm gonna start hitting the gym, get absolutely jacked. So as I started going to the gym, that's when I started to see the potential of my actual value, my self-worth, because I started to gain confidence, my stuff like that. And that's kind of what kind of sparked it all, was just that I came to the conclusion I wasn't a good person, and I wanted to just improve myself and truly see the value that I think I hold.
Of course. I want to see you for a second, because I think you have gone through some shit, and that's okay. Some trauma we can't ever compare, my trauma to your trauma, whatever the case is, or whatever we want to call it. It's just ultimately a title. The other aspect is sometimes trauma is actually not what was done to us, but what was not done to us.
Interesting. I've never heard that before.
Just to kind of side note, maybe, you know, parents weren't mentally or physically abusive, but were they as there for you as were they, let me rephrase this. Kid has amazing parents that are there, they're not physically or mentally abusive, but mom and dad aren't nurturing to them. Maybe there's nothing that
Right.
the parents did wrong, but by not being nurturing caused trauma.
Yeah, and that
makes sense.
definitely makes sense. I just kind of I always feel weird opening up about stuff like that sometimes because I know people have had a lot worse things, right? And so I don't want to feel like I'm trying to play a victim. You know, I hate victimizing myself. I just like I don't want to either. So it's, which maybe I'm not. I don't know if I am or not, but I try to stay away from that. So
I love it.
Just for that reason. But
That's powerful. You weren't at all. You're not victimizing at all. You were saying this happened to me, and I decided maybe the first motivation was to get your girl back.
Right. Yeah.
But ultimately that carried forward.
Yeah.
Because truthfully, sometimes we need to hit rock bottom to find the upside.
Yeah, definitely.
See, the way I look at it, and just to kind of share my story, you mentioned the calling and kind of what initiated you. So when I was 11, my parents got a divorce, which, go backwards and rewind, I felt like I lived in a perfect world. I had a 3-story home. My playroom was bigger than this room. It was probably just as big as my kitchen in there. We had a basketball court in the backyard. I thought my mom and dad loved each other. We did fun things. We went on vacations. We never had to worry about food. Then they got a divorce. A year later, we move out. Both mom and dad worked about 2 to 3 jobs just to even put food on the table. Sometimes they weren't even sure whether they could afford presents. Luckily, my parents instilled in me hard work matters. So they always made it work. They always worked the extra job to give us Christmas and always valued that. Mm-hmm. But that major transition of life was obviously hard on me. It's divorce. I don't claim it to be bad at all. Because it's easy to say it's just divorce, right? It's just transformation. But that also put me in a place of questioning life. I started drinking alcohol and smoking weed when I was 13. Started smoking cigarettes when I was 14. And there was a moment that I started to want to become more and achieve more like yourself. It was different motivation, but it was when I was at my lowest, because I saw people going to jail or juvie around me. I saw people committing suicide. And then an angel visited me and told me that I would either change and make a big impact in this world, or that I would die before I graduated high school. And that's the moment I walked out and I was I didn't know where to change. I didn't know who to go to.
Or where to even start, right?
Yeah. So 9th grade, last day of summer, I cut out friends, family. I stopped going on social media, and that's the day I picked up my first book.
What was the first book?
I don't remember, honestly. I wish I did, but I don't remember. When I decided to go in, I went in full. So I started watching podcasts, YouTube videos. So it's like all mushed together. But I guess my intention is sharing that is, I think your story is amazing. And the fact that you can highlight what you went through, your motivation to change, and the fact that you stayed and kept that change is so powerful.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I've never had anyone actually tell me that before.
Yeah.
So that means a lot. So thank you.
Of course. And, it's being dumped's not fun.
Not at all.
Losing friends, that's huge. It's nice to be wanted. It's nice to be loved. And when you're close with friends and they just leave you behind, that's when you need them the most as well.
And it's especially hurts when they are like your closest friends. Like I definitely had other friends, but I wasn't as close with anyone else as I was them.
So how did you begin to transform? Was it the working out that helped you?
That's where it started. That's where it started. Yeah, it was the working out, and that's from that point on is where I kind of just started researching online more. Like from that point on is where it kind of started, right? And I just started like you said, researching stuff online, podcasts, YouTube videos, and ultimately the main thing that I was learning at the time was more self-help stuff. What can I do to help myself? Because I mean, I think therapists are great. I think people need to talk to a therapist, but I felt a lot more like I can do this myself. I just need to learn how to do it.
Yeah.
And the learning about self cues, self-talk, stuff like that is what really started my actual mental transformation of what I wanted to be.
That's amazing. Do you remember the first book you picked up?
Atomic Habits.
Oh, that's such a good one.
It's awesome. It's a great
book. That is
book.
life-changing. I think it's actually right up there.
Oh, really? That's awesome.
Is it? I can't see it.
Maybe on the bottom there?
Oh, yeah. Atomic Habits is up there. It's one of the books that really changed my life as well. And like you said, it's a book that really established a foundation for you to be able to start to change.
Exactly. Yeah, it was huge. I remember I've never been someone who reads books. Even now I struggle to read them, but when I was reading that one, it's just the writing was incredible. His stories were amazing, right? And so I felt like even though I couldn't relate to his stories, I just felt like I could relate to him as a person, having gone through stuff and just having mentors and whatnot. And it kept me reading and wanting more because it was just such valuable information and knowledge.
That's amazing. So what are the processes? Do you think that's what, let's say somebody's listening in and maybe they just got dumped. Maybe their friend just left them. Maybe they just had a family member pass. In other words, they're just really struggling with their mental health.
Right.
Do you think that's the best place to start is working out and starting to pick up books, or where would you suggest them start?
I think I'm someone who really believes that physical health goes hand in hand with mental health. So my first place to tell someone to start is if they don't want to spend at the moment, if they don't want to spend the extra time doing research and watching podcasts or YouTube videos, whatever, I'd say just start working out, getting your physical health up, even if it's smaller stuff like just jogging. You don't have to start lifting crazy weights, but if you can just get like light exercise going, drinking plenty of water, and just fixing your diet, changing your diet to be a lot more healthy, I think that alone will already boost your mental health. And you'll start to see the potential that you have in yourself, thus pushing you more to want to be better.
That's huge. I would agree with that. Spiritually, mentally, physically, all coincide.
Exactly, yeah.
If you feel great physically, you're probably going to feel great mentally.
Right.
It's not always the case, but mostly.
Well, like there's been periods of time where I've gone where I just stopped working out just because I would get lazy, right? And I'd noticed when the days or the weeks that I'd like go without working out was mentally the hardest weeks that I faced while I'm trying to work on myself because it's I don't really know the science behind it. I know it has to do with like endorphins and those chemicals, serotonin, all that kind of stuff, but just not having the natural physical way to do so, it would really leave me so down, depressed, imbalanced mentally, and it's not fun, to feel like that.
So now transitioning into chasing dreams, enjoying the journey. Obviously, before you started a podcast. If it was for me, I know I was like, wow, who the heck am I to start a podcast?
Right.
And, we're always growing, so we're always going to be dealing with imposter syndrome. But what pushed you over the edge to go out and say, you know what, I'm doing it?
It's hard to say if there was anything specific that pushed me over the edge. I mean, kind of how it started was me and my friends. Well, this is back when I was doing like gaming YouTube videos back in like 2019, 2020. We started our own like group podcast. Like we were all the hosts and it was like 6 of us. We just get on and start talking. We only did like 2 episodes, but after I got to like run the 3rd episode, I was like, hey, can I host the 3rd episode, be the talk? Because I just wanted to try it, see how I do, right? After running that one, I was like, that was really fun. why don't I just start my own podcast? Like, I'm already doing YouTube. I'm already, doing content. Why not just try to start my own? And I didn't think I could truly do it or be a personality or a host, or the ability to really run one. But I was like, why not? Like, I had fun. So just why not see where it goes? And that's where I started that first rendition that I was telling you about earlier of the podcast, which didn't really last. But then...
Out at recess.
Yeah.
And now it's out at Reese's.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sure y'all can raise your hand. Out at Reese's is way better. Not that out at recess is bad. It's just out at Reese's. Wow, I'm trying to say both of them.
Yeah.
It just flows and it's catchy.
I definitely feel like it's just a lot better sounding, and it was a lot better for the algorithm. You'd search Out at Recess on like YouTube and stuff, and it'd bring up the show Recess, like that cartoon from the 90s, or like show. Court stuff. I search Out at Reese's now that I've changed it, and it's the first thing that pops up. So I'm like, there you go.
Hey, that's a win.
Yeah, exactly.
So somebody out there, I feel like sharing voices and just in your voice and being vulnerable and willing to share your story is so important. And no better place to do that than a podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Because you can get, especially having an hour, like most podcasts are like 50 minutes to an hour. It's like, that's a lot of time to really say a lot of deep stuff. So it's really one of the best places to find that kind of stuff. If you really want to know a lot, on a particular subject, and you don't want to spend time reading a book or reading a bunch of stuff, like a podcast is the way to go.
I love that. And there's something that you said earlier. You felt like you were starting to see yourself as a bad person, judging people, putting people down, whatever the case was. Not trying to put words in your own mouth because I'm not exactly sure what you said. But how did you become aware of that? Like, how were you like, you know what? I'm a bad person.
So I guess I'm going to go into this a little bit. I don't want to go into too much detail, but so I used to be LDS.
Okay.
And when I left the church, because I just decided, that wasn't where my faith was. It wasn't where my beliefs were. I left the LDS church and I joined the ex-Mormon community. Being a part of that community, I got deep into it, having hatred towards the church, absolute, anger, despisal. And that's just that's the online side of the community has a lot of anger and hatred towards the church because of, there's reasons why people left. And when I was being a part of that community, going through it, not to say anything bad about that community, but there is a lot of toxic elements within it. Not that everyone is, toxic or bad in that community, but the parts I was in, most people and most posts I was seeing online were very toxic. And when it was just one day I was scrolling through like Facebook or something, and I was like, these are like horrible. Like these posts are worse than what they're complaining about with the church. And I've realized, man, I've posted stuff like this. Wow, I'm a really toxic person. Just like, and I just started thinking about everything I've said to people, the way I was judging people. I was judging people in the church, right? I was like, I'm no better than the church members I'm talking crap on, right? Like I'm worse, really, because they're, and that's kind of where I kind of came to that realization. Like, I've become like a toxic person, and so I left that community. Nothing, I don't want to say anything bad particularly about it. Just there's elements to it that were toxic that I was a part of. I was a part of the toxic sides of it, Of
course.
So when I recognized that, I decided to remove myself from that. And now, I don't just so I can stay on the record, I don't have any hatred towards the Mormon church or the LDS church or religion or the people inside of it anymore. And I'm very neutral about it now. Just to state that. I don't want people to think I'm still trying to hate on it or anything.
Well, the neutral is the way to go, right? Neutral is actually a loving place to be. I'm accepting you for you, and I accept you for me.
That's a good way to put it.
Hey, you believe in the church? That's awesome. I used to be part of the church. I left it, and I think that it's amazing that you still believe in that. I just decided I might go my own way, but I want you to keep going your way.
Right.
It's like, it's a loving thing, To speak to that, The moment you left that community, was it a light switch? Like, when did you start to say, you know what, I'm trying to make an impact on people, even if it's just a smile, even if it's just a wave?
That's kind of hard to say because I feel like my whole life I've always liked to make people laugh, make people smile. If I can make someone feel good, I would always just feel really good about myself, you know? In terms of like being able to recognize that and remove myself, it did feel like just a switch. It just felt like within a day, it was like, whoa, like a revelation, right, came into my brain. I was like, yeah, I'm not good. I'm toxic. I'm not a good person. And so I just like that saying, it actually took me probably a month or so to really fully remove myself from that community, in terms of like removing myself from the groups and just deleting, you know, like unfollowing the subreddits and all that kind of stuff, just because it was a part of my life for so long. But it was like a switch of just realizing, yeah, I've kind of become a toxic person.
But ultimately, your identity was a light switch. It's like, wow, I don't want to be like that anymore. So I'm not gonna be.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's powerful. Now, I know whether somebody's in a deep hole and they are now recognizing like, wow, I guess I kind of am that toxic person, or somebody that's just in a place of not necessarily making an impact, but they want to start making an impact wherever they are at on that scale. What are good steps that people can take to start to see their gifts, see their purpose, and start making an impact on the world?
I'd just say find a passion, like just something positive that you really enjoy, whether it's painting, art, maybe even gaming. If you wanted to do like gaming or something, or YouTube, or really whatever you're passionate about, or if you don't have anything you're specifically passionate about, just try to pick up new hobbies that are positive. And as you develop those skills, maybe meet people in the similar, you know, field, you'll start to kind of see the possibilities of where that could actually take you.
I love that. So going into passions, how do you feel like, let's say somebody's like, I'm not passionate about anything, because I know there's somebody on your saying that.
Yeah.
What would you say to that person? Because my belief, everybody has a passion.
Right.
Might not be discovered yet.
And some people don't see it, right? They don't know what their passions are.
But how do you feel like somebody can go, what process can they take to find their passion?
Honestly, just doing anything other than what they're currently doing. Because everyone usually develops a natural routine. Like they'll, you know, let's say they wake up, brush their teeth, shower, get ready, you know, go to work, come home. Maybe they play video games, watch TV, hit the gym, and they do that on repeat every single day, you know, over and over and over. But the moment you remove yourself from your regular routine, try to change it up, put yourself somewhere different, you'll start having influences that might inspire you. Because I think you can find influence and inspiration in literally anything. So by putting yourself in new scenes, new places, maybe meeting new people, that's where you'll start finding your inspirations, and you'll start finding interests, right? You'll see someone doing something, you'll hear someone talking about someone, you think, that sounds kind of neat. I want to give that a shot. I want to try that. Maybe you'll start to research it a little bit and realize, okay, maybe I don't want to do this. And you just keep going until you find something where you realize, wow, I actually really like this. I've already started doing it now. Now I'm enjoying it. I can see this going somewhere. Here's my passion. This is my, you know.
That's powerful. Get out of your routine.
Yeah, exactly.
You're stuck. Get out. Whether you have a passion, whether you're just dibble-dabbling in a passion, if you know what your passion is, then put it in your routine. Just change up your routine and incorporate it.
Now, I believe routine is healthy and good, but I do constantly think we should always be innovating our routine. You don't necessarily have to full on change it, but if you innovate your routine, like you said, adding something to it or just changing it up just a little bit, and I think if you always kind of strive to do that, you'll always find new inspirations.
I love that. That's powerful. I've actually never heard that before. You know, I always hear, you know, just create a routine and obviously I talk about that too, because I'm I believe in having an efficient schedule.
Right.
And it's easy to be caught up in that. But just switching it, and just to kind of relate to this, obviously I did this on a subconscious level, but a couple things that I've been wanting to do. One, I want to learn chess. I don't know if you know chess or not, but if you do, maybe you can teach me.
I just started learning chess back in December, and I've been playing it so much lately. I've been learning it.
You can teach me then. You know more than me. Two, this is going to sound so weird, and I've never said it on the record, so here we are.
Okay, let's hear it.
I love the cello.
Really?
I want to learn the cello so bad.
Is that a string or a air instrument?
Honestly, it's a string from what I believe, but I could be wrong because I just know that I type in like cello music on Spotify or whatever, and I've always loved it. I've been doing that for years, but I want to learn. So anyways, to get to the point, on Sundays, I've incorporated 30 minutes that I just can start doing.
That's awesome.
Different things. Because I love coaching. I love podcasting. I love doing YouTube videos. I love one-on-one coachings. I love doing my group. One, because I just love it. And two, I love seeing people change in front of my eyes. And I have that natural gift. Although, I want to start to find other passions as well.
Right. Yeah. It's nice to be diverse and like branch out into other things, which in turn can influence or inspire you for things in your coaching career and life, you know?
Exactly. Well, it's like chess. You got to think, but you got to make the right moves too. If
you're
not doing that in life, then you might get killed, literally.
Well, kind of on the chess note, I've actually talked about this with my friend on my podcast, but I was explaining to him how chess is like everything you experience in life and go through, whether it's easy or hard, maybe a trial you're going through, right? It's like a chess match. You just have to figure out how to beat it. And in turn, you can either be checkmated or you can checkmate it, right? If you lose against it, you can always rematch or just go to the next opponent, which will take you somewhere, you know, down another path or in another direction.
No, I love that.
So that's...
If you get checkmated, you can have a rematch or you can move on to a different opponent if it doesn't make sense to proceed. Or you can checkmate the problem at hand.
Yeah, because chess is solving puzzles. It's really a puzzle game against another player, right? And isn't that like what really any problem we run into in life is? It's just essentially like solving a puzzle, figuring out where the pieces need to fall into place in order to solve the puzzle. So
I love that. You got my mind churning. Now I really need to go learn chess.
Well, that's actually why I learned it. Why I wanted to learn it was because I wanted to train my brain to kind of think of the world like a puzzle and just solving puzzles and playing chess matches, you know, metaphorically.
That's powerful. And that's practically all you've been doing through this time, right? I mean, just to relate it back to your story, you get dumped and you're like, you know what? I'm going to checkmate that and I'm going to go make something happen.
Exactly.
You lose your friends and you checkmate it and you decide to go immerse yourself in different communities to build other relationships.
And ultimately, every chess match you win will bring you to the next chess match, which could be harder of an opponent or maybe an easier one.
And that's the journey, right?
Exactly.
You know, we're always working on our mental health, always overcoming that. Love how Joe Rogan says it, the inner bitch.
Yeah.
And truthfully, I love that because when you get to the next level, you always have an opportunity to quit or you always have the opportunity to make sure you win.
Yeah, I love that. That's awesome. I've never heard it in words like that before, so that's like, it's already inspiring me. Like, see, like just kind of back on that, like kind of inspiration note, finding influence, inspiration, just coming on here, you know, just talking to you, you've already sprouted a lot of thoughts in my mind that, like, dang, you know, that I wouldn't have had otherwise.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. I feel like this is a good note to kind of not end on, but to slow down on. I really want to sit on this because this is powerful. Anyways, how can I and the audience really support you?
I guess just follow my journey. Cause I got a lot of big stuff coming and I want to share it with everybody. I want to inspire everybody with it. Try to help them do the things they want to do. Help them find what they want to do. And so I guess right now, just follow my journey.
I love that. And what is your Instagram handle, your YouTube, all that they can follow?
So if my personal Instagram is just Reese Salvis, it's ReeseShalvis. Or if you are interested in my podcast at all, it's out at Reese's on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, Google, a bunch of other places that
and we'll drop it below.
But okay, yeah, just
that way
I appreciate that.
Link it. That's amazing, and I really just want to see you for you again. I know it seems like some of the things you've gone through aren't as serious as others, but you've gone through them, and I think that's really something to not be you're not a victim at all, but hold on to that, pull that goodness out, and share that story with the world, man. That can really change people's lives.
Isn't that ultimately what we should do with anything hard we go through, is just try to find the good in it?
Yeah.
And the lessons. And
it's a chess match, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And you beat it.
Maybe you sacrifice your queen, or maybe you sacrifice your knights at some point, but either way, you're trying
Megan.
Trying to come out on top.
Just kidding. But I love that. And you checkmated the problems or the situation at hand, and now we're here.
Here we are. That's crazy. And I never thought I'd be sitting on someone else's podcast. Like when I first started mine, I had the vision of being big, right? But I never actually thought like, man, could this actually go somewhere? Will I be on someone else's podcast just having a chill conversation? It's pretty cool.
It's amazing. Now the question I ask everybody is, what's your definition of a prosperous life?
I'd say the definition of a prosperous life is being able to find fulfillment in your current situation and constantly being able to shape that situation.
I love that. Finding peace. Do you use the word fulfillment or peace?
Fulfillment.
That's what I thought. I got it wrong. Finding fulfillment within your current situation and really just working to be better. You are in your present moment for a reason. How can you find peace within that, and how can you transform it if you're not at a good place?
That's a great way to put it.
And the way I look at this is, more transformation doesn't come from more judgment. When you judge yourself and you put yourself in a worse place because you become vulnerable to your mental health, you now are not working out physically. So now you're just becoming less and less, which doesn't allow you to actually go achieve more in the world. But if you can become more in your current situation, whether it's good or bad, then you will naturally be able to achieve more. For instance, you're a situation. You had a crappy financial situation. Your friends stopped hanging out with you and don't know the exact situation, and your girlfriend dumped you. You decided to become more through working out, picking up books, which now allowed you to achieve success in your career, success financially, so on and so forth.
Sorry, that's awesome. Like that I really appreciate that, because it definitely helps me put a new perspective on things.
Yeah, I mean, your definition of prosperous life, you're clearly living, is what I'm trying to say.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, so that's phenomenal.
Thank you.
I love that you live what you speak. With that in mind, do you have any last words for the audience, yourself, me?
I'd just say, if you want to follow something, if you want to go after something, just do it. Don't let fear hold you back.
Follow that passion.
Exactly.
Follow that gift and go for it. Love that. That's powerful. With that in mind, if you guys are ready to begin to live a prosperous life, if you're ready to start to become more so you can achieve more, like Reese here, go to BraidenBelnap.com. We'll also link it below. Join us in the Prosperous Life membership. I'll coach you on a weekly basis on Mondays. I'll give you a course. I'll give you all the recorded content in the past. And I'll be there as a coach to help you really start to develop and create your own prosperous life. That in mind, I hope you guys have a wonderful day. And if this has been an impact to you, share it with somebody so we can make an impact together. Have a good one, everybody.
I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah.
That was an awesome episode. That was really good.
I feel like that was perfect.